Today, the Matt Walsh Show, as we gear up for the election today, we'll review some of the Biden-Harris administration's most outlandish DEI policies. They wasted a lot of money and a lot of time on this nonsense. We'll go through the list. Also, the media is fitting in one more Trump hoax before the election. They're claiming that Trump threatened to kill Liz Cheney. Is that true? Obviously not. We'll talk about it. Also, a trans-identified male was denied a job at Hooters. He claims his human rights were violated. The state of New York seems to agree. We'll talk about all that and more today on the Matt Walsh Show. Let me tell you about a looming threat to our constitutional republic that the mainstream media won't cover. The radical left is plotting a Supreme Court coup, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore, folks. These progressive ideologues want to eliminate the court's conservative majority by packing it with their own hand-picked justices. It's not court reform, it's a blatant power grab to get the outcomes they want. Here's the frightening part. If one party controls the House, Senate, and presidency come January, they could restructure the court overnight with a simple majority vote and a president's signature. Their plan becomes reality. It's like they're trying to speed run the destruction of our judicial system. We've already seen their playbook, made up ethical attacks on justices, illegal protests at their homes, open threats from so-called representatives. It's Venezuela-style court packing, and it would spell the end of judicial independence and the rule of law as we know it. But hey, who needs checks and balances when you can have a rubber stamp for your radical agenda, right? But there's hope. First Liberty is leading the charge to protect the Supreme Court from this radical plan. They're fighting to preserve the legitimacy of the court and the separations of power that safeguards our freedoms. Here's what you need to do. Go to supremecoup.com/Walsh. That's supremecoup.com/Walsh to learn how you can help stop the left's takeover of the Supreme Court. The future of our country is quite literally in your hands. Check out supremecoup.com/Walsh today. It's back. One last chance, and this time it's more important than ever. Get 47% off your new Daily Wire Plus annual membership with code FIGHT. Then make sure you're with us on election night. Our coverage starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, and yes, we'll be live all night until the winner is declared, giving real coverage in real time on the night that it really matters. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe. Use code FIGHT for 47% off your new Daily Wire Plus membership, and be here to watch history unfold live on Tuesday.
November 5th, the night America's fate is decided. As the final votes are counted and a nation waits for the outcome, join us to break down the live election results as only Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Andrew Klavan, and Jeremy Borick can. With special guests appearing live in studio, Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, Dennis Prager, and Spencer Klavan. Daily Wire Election Night 2024. Get real-time results and exclusive insights from the most trusted names in conservative media. This is more than an election. It's history in the making. Join the Daily Wire as each vote is counted, each state called, and each race decided.
There's been a lot of very negative coverage of diversity, equity, and inclusion lately. Some of you may know that, as I've mentioned once or twice, I recently put together a movie on the topic. Am I Racist? Streaming on Daily Wire right now. We've also done a lot of shows about DEI. In fact, we talked about it just yesterday, and for good reason. As we speak, a DEI candidate is on the ballot for President of the United States. We're on the cusp of either doubling down on this disastrous ideology or possibly eradicating it entirely. I mean, that's the choice. But all that being said, I'd be lying if I said that deep down, I don't have a soft spot for certain DEI policies that the Biden-Harris administration has implemented. You see, as a certified DEI expert myself, I'm trained to recognize that not all DEI programs are equal. Some of them are just straight up racist, sure. Virtually all of them are counterproductive and stupid, but I'm capable of identifying, based on my extensive experience and training, some DEI policies that are really kind of diamonds in the rough. Some of them transcend politics and stand as monuments to the unfettered ingenuity of the Biden-Harris administration. The more you think about these policies, the more you come around to the idea that maybe, just maybe, DEI is worth keeping around in some form, if only because, in many cases, these policies are hilarious, or at least mildly amusing. So in that spirit, and because we could all use a breather going into what may be the most heated and contested presidential election since the Civil War, I'm going to rank my favorite DEI policies from the Biden-Harris administration. The group Do No Harm assembled a gigantic database of all of the zillions of ways the administration has implemented DEI. And I've whittled that database down to my personal top 10 list, and I'm posting that list on X today. But for the purposes of right now, I'll whittle that list down even further. And we'll start with this one, which is probably the best. With very little fanfare, under the administration's equity mandate, the TSA deployed new advanced imaging technology to, quote, reduce the instances of enhanced screening for trans persons. According to the TSA, this update eliminated the need for TSA officers to determine a passenger's gender prior to advanced imaging screening. Now, this is a program that taxpayers spent millions of dollars to implement, but how does it work exactly? I mean, how precisely is imaging technology resulting in less false flags for self-identified trans people? Well, here's one news report that I found on this topic, and we'll see if they can shed some light on the situation.
U.S. airport security will become more gender neutral under new government procedures, the Department of Homeland Security announced today. Passports marked with an X for gender will be available in April. The X gender designation will also be available in the TSA PreCheck security program. TSA officers will also receive new instructions on screening, along with new technology with the intent of making security procedures less invasive. The Biden administration shared these new actions on the day known as Transgender Day of Visibility.
The TSA shared it will now work with the maker of its body scanners to replace the current gender-based system with more accurate technology. The way it's set up right now, TSA agents have the discretion to choose either a male or female option to scan you based on how they perceive your appearance. If your body does not match that kind of binary algorithm, then chances are you will get pulled aside for additional screening. Schelling told me that avoiding that will help make things more equal for everyone at airports.
It's just one example of like when people say like transgender people want to be included in the state we live in. This is just like, you know, in the world we live in, the country that we live in, this is like what it comes down to. We just want to be able to exist, live our lives, just the same as anybody else.
Yeah, they just want to be treated the same as everybody else, which is why they need all these updates and new policies and special considerations so that they can be treated just like everybody else. They need to be treated different from everybody else so that they can be treated the same as everybody else. You see how that works? So before the DEI update over at TSA, the body scanner required that agents select a gender for the traveler. And this is one of those things that I guess they didn't want to elaborate on during a local news broadcast, but it's pretty clear what's going on here. If the machine detects that a woman has a strange object in a region of the body where a woman shouldn't have an object, then the machine would sound an alarm and the TSA agent would have to do a pat-down. But if the machine detects that object on a man's body, it's a little bit less suspicious. Okay, that's the way it worked before. Now, anybody with a child's understanding of biology can figure out that this, makes a lot of sense. Not exactly a foolproof system, but it does make it a little harder for women to smuggle contraband through a body scanner. Well, the TSA under the Biden-Harris administration has made the technology more accurate, supposedly. How do they do that? Well, according to the TSA, last summer they introduced a gender-neutral algorithm to the body scanners. In other words, presumably they've stopped looking for mismatches between someone's gender and any objects that may be attached to their bodies in strange places. And as a result, they say that the number of false positives has gone down by 50%. Now, the TSA brags about the statistic on their website quite a bit, even though it doesn't really tell us anything at all. I mean, you could reduce the number of false positives by 100% if you just unplug the body scanner and stop using it entirely. The more useful statistic, if we're being frank here, would be knowing whether anyone was able to sneak a weapon through the body scanner because the machine thought it was male genitalia instead of, say, a gun or a knife. The TSA doesn't have those statistics because, of course, there's no way to track objects that they have missed completely. We'll just have to find out the hard way, I guess. Hopefully ISIS doesn't employ any gender-neutral terrorists. And that brings me to another monumental DEI achievement under the Biden-Harris administration. This one comes to us from the Department of Energy, which recently became notorious for employing its own gender-neutral menace. You might have heard that the Department of Energy's esteemed nuclear waste disposal expert, Sam Brinton, turned out to be an expert in stealing women's luggage from airport baggage claims. That whole episode led to a lot of bad press, which is too bad because it distracted everyone from the Department of Energy's historic achievements in the field of DEI. Now, fortunately, as a certified DEI professional, I am here to rectify that oversight. This is a very real paragraph from the Equity Action Plan at the Department of Energy. I hope you're sitting down for this. Quote, in fiscal year 2023, DOE sponsored the Lesbians Who Tech Conference. The DOE also worked in close partnership with its Energy Pride Employee Resource Group for Pride Month, including raising the Progress Pride flag for the third year in a row with the Energy Secretary. Just to review that last part again, the Department of Energy raised the Progress Pride flag 3 years in a row with the Energy Secretary in attendance. They didn't just raise the flag for 1 year. They didn't just raise it for 2 years. They did it for 3 whole years in a row. And this is something that a bureaucrat paid by your tax dollars wrote down in a government document as a major achievement for equity. This is one of the Biden administration's great achievements. And then they published this document online to brag to the whole world. And just to make sure that I wasn't missing anything, I pulled up a video of what this Progress Pride flag raising ceremony looked like, brought to us by the Biden administration. And here is some of that truly riveting footage.
Welcome, everyone, and welcome to Pride. My name is Margie Katsoulis. I am the Director of Energy Pride, the Department of Energy's Employee Resource Group for LGBTQ plus employees and allies. Pride stands for promoting respect, inclusion, diversity, and equity. Pride is for everyone, whether you are a member of the community or an ally.
If everyone can please go over to the flagpole so we can raise the flag. Thank you so much.
Oh, we didn't even see them actually raise the flag. That's, that was anticlimactic. But they did raise the flag, so you just have to imagine that part. It's monumental stuff. First of all, the Department of Energy lady says that Pride stands for promoting respect, inclusion, diversity, and equity, which is the first time I've heard that, but she says it as a fact. So I looked it up. It turns out that this is a disputed acronym. Most people say that Pride is not an acronym at all. It just means pride, as in one of the 7 deadly sins. That's what they're actually celebrating. But for their part, the University of San Francisco's LGBTQ Center claims that Pride stands for professionalism, respect, integrity, diversity, and excellence. So there are some differences there. 3 of the 5 words are different. And of course, when you think of gay pride parades with men walking around in leather bondage gear in front of children, the first word that comes to mind to describe the scene is professionalism. Also respect and integrity. All of those words are what come to mind when you see the pride parade. Anyway, there's also the folks over at Robins Air Force Base who have weighed in on this topic, and they say that on their website that Pride really stands for people, readiness, innovation, drive, and excellence. So already this is all very confusing. And then it gets more confusing when the Department of Energy lady says this, quote, Pride is for everyone, whether you're a member of the community or an ally. In other words, Pride is for everyone except all the people who think Pride is dumb, evil, divisive, complete waste of taxpayer money. It's not for you, but she'll say that it's for everyone anyway because, it sounds nice, I guess. Speaking of Pride, NASA was particularly proud under the Biden-Harris administration to launch something called Mission Equity. Now, no, Mission Equity doesn't refer to a trip to Mars or catching a rocket booster midair so you can reuse it later. That's Elon Musk is doing that. That's small potatoes, okay? You're thinking too small. After all, who needs reusable rocket boosters when you have NASA's LGBTQI plus Gender Equity Forum, which connects non-binary, trans, and queer folks with government procurement experts? I mean, if you could give any sane person the choice between these 2 achievements, they're obviously going to go with the Gender Equity Forum. But that's not even my favorite part of what NASA accomplished in the DEI department over the last 4 years. They also put together what, in my humble opinion as a DEI expert, is maybe the single creepiest DEI town hall that's ever been put together by a government agency. One after another, the entire agency, including the director, delivered some mindless lines about Joe Biden's executive order on equity, how important it is, And then they announced the launch of Mission Equity. Watch.
On the first day of the Biden-Harris administration, indeed my first day at NASA, the President signed Executive Order 13985, advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. At this meeting and the breakout sessions today that Jarrell mentioned, we will focus on NASA's efforts in responding to this executive order.
NASA fully supports the Biden-Harris administration's vision to create a more diverse and inclusive America. President Biden's Executive Order 13985, advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government, challenges agencies to overcome the visible and invisible systemic barriers that hinder equitable, inclusive access by individuals or communities to government programs, resources, and opportunities.
Isn't it true that fairness and inclusiveness have long been at the core of NASA's goals? So, following President Biden's executive order on supporting underserved communities, we got right to work.
Thank each of you for taking the opportunity to walk this equity journey with NASA. As stated earlier, NASA launched its newest mission, Mission Equity, in the spring of 2021, where we were tasked to advance racial equity, support underserved communities through NASA.
Isn't it true that fairness and inclusiveness have long been the goal of NASA? No, it's not true. That's not true. That is not why they went to the moon. Nobody ever said anything. If you go back to the moon landing, the Apollo program, I don't think anyone ever said anything about fairness the entire time. The word never came up, or inclusiveness. Now, this would be a creepy and depressing town hall if it was, say, the local teachers union doing it, but this is NASA we're talking about here, which makes it even harder to watch. NASA used to do great things like land a man on the moon, and they did all those great things without DEI. And now they're all pretending that DEI was somehow the key to their success all along. Meanwhile, as NASA holds meetings like this, where they all act like lobotomized DEI activists, SpaceX is actually accomplishing the things that NASA used to accomplish. There are a bunch of other examples of this rot that Do No Harm has collected. The Forest Service spent $1 billion on environmental justice. That's $1 billion with a B. The NEA spent more than $6 million to make the art world more equitable, because as we all know, the art world is a haven for those dreaded MAGA Republicans. The Department of Commerce allocated $70 million exclusively for women-owned small businesses, which is why a lot of men now list their wives as the owner of their companies. Really big improvement, I guess, where we've incentivized fraud at a massive scale. Meanwhile, over at the CIA, they took a break from overthrowing foreign governments so that they could sponsor robotics camps for middle school students from underserved communities. And the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, which regulates commercial vehicles, held the first ever meeting of the Women of Trucking Advisory Board. Makes a lot of sense because, if there's one thing we desperately need as a country, it's more women spending weeks away from their families while they drive 30-ton trucks all over the country. And of course, cataloging all of the DEI programs that the Biden-Harris administration has implemented is nearly impossible. There's just too many of them. But having looked at the database from Do No Harm, those are just some of my favorites. They are the DEI achievements that reveal how backwards and incompetent our government has become over the last 4 years. And if nothing else, they're one last incentive to vote, if you haven't already. All of this is reversible. That's the good news. We just have to fire the people who implemented these policies. We got to fire them on Tuesday. And then after we're done laughing at these imbeciles, we can tell the next crop of government employees to get back to work. Now let's get to our 5 headlines. You know what's interesting about holiday traditions? Every year, my family and I gather around to read a Christmas carol together. It's one of those moments that reminds you what really matters. But here's the thing about family traditions. They need to continue even when you're gone. That's where Policy Genius comes in. Look, I know life insurance isn't exactly the most thrilling topic, but protecting your family's future absolutely has to be a priority. And Policy Genius actually makes this whole process simple, which, let's be honest, is rare in today's overcomplicated world. So here's what you need to do. and what you need to know. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. I appreciate that they're not trying to waste your time with the bureaucratic nonsense. Their licensed agents help you compare quotes from America's top insurers side by side, completely free, no hidden fees. And unlike dealing with some government agency, these people actually know what they're doing. They handle all the paperwork and advocate for you throughout the process. Even if you have life insurance through work, and I know many of you do, it might not be enough to protect your family's needs, and it probably won't follow you if you leave your job. That's why having your own policy really matters. Secure your families tomorrow so you have peace of mind today. Head to policygenius.com/Walsh or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. That's policygenius.com/Walsh. All right, hope everyone had a good Halloween. You know, I've been troubled by, a little bit troubled, actually very troubled, because I barely slept last night after what I witnessed. And my 5-year-old daughter came home from trick-or-treating last night, and all the kids they come in with their loot, dump it on the counter, as per our usual tradition, and then because I have to start rifling through it, and I extract the dad tax. Taxes have gone up. It's because it's tough. It's tough out there, and we're running a deficit, and we got to raise the taxes. Everyone needs to pay their fair share, and I'm tired of the rich and powerful elitist 5-year-olds who get to hog all the candy. Not going to allow it. So we had to set that right. And anyway, my daughter dumps out the candy and then starts picking through it. And she pulls out all the Whoppers, the Whopper candies, and she makes a little pile of them. And I thought that what she was doing is she was separating them to go throw them away, as I used to do when I was her age. But instead, she starts eating the Whoppers. She's only eating this pile of Whopper candy, and she's only eating those. I'm like, what are you doing? She tells me that those are her favorite candy, are the Whoppers. I've never met anyone who actually likes that candy. I don't know why they're still given out on Halloween. They're disgusting. It's like when you get a box of a dozen donuts, and there's always one donut left in the break room in the box, and it's always the powdered donut because nobody wants the powdered donut. It's not anybody's favorite. Why even put it in the box? Why take up the real estate in the box with a donut that isn't anyone's favorite? Just throw another glazed in there or chocolate frosted, and you're fine. Same thing with the Whoppers. Like 3 months after Halloween, it's past Christmas, and you find the trick-or-treat bucket, and it's got some Whoppers and Smarties rolling around in there because nobody likes those. Even the kids don't like those. Whoppers taste like mothballs dipped in chocolate syrup, or maybe really stale cereal covered in chocolate and then left in the pantry to get even more stale. They're revolting. So that was really confounding. And one other thing about Halloween, and because I've seen some people, on a slightly more serious note, I've seen some people lamenting, and you see this every year, lamenting the decline of trick-or-treating. Seems like there are fewer trick-or-treaters out there. John Doyle tweeted about this. He said, very sad to see fewer trick-or-treaters every year. Really noticed around 2016 or so. Seemed to be a dying tradition. Now I'm driving around and have only seen one. It's all just such a shame. And I've noticed this too. Now this year in Nashville, it was pouring rain, so that would explain why there were fewer people out there. But year over year, as a general kind of trend, I've noticed the same thing. That just it's not, it's not like it was when I was a kid. And we've moved 8 times since we had kids, and we've lived in many different houses and neighborhoods and in other parts of the country. And so we've seen Halloween in all these different places, and it does seem like it's declining. I think there are a few reasons for that. One of them is probably the most obvious, which is that there are fewer kids. Fewer people are having kids. You have fewer young families because people aren't having kids. And so all of these traditions that are kind of kid-centric end up kind of dying off. Also, neighborhoods are less safe. When I was 10 years old, I went trick-or-treating with my friends. We would, by ourselves, with no adults, we would just go out. Our parents would say bye to us, and they'd take the picture or whatever with the costumes on. And then we would go. We'd leave at 6 o'clock, come back at 9:30 or 10. And I just wouldn't let my own kids do that at that age. It's what I did. I have very fond memories of it. I wouldn't do it. It's not safe. And also, I think that there are so many kids glued to phones and social media basically from birth that it does make them sort of more jaded and distracted and just kind of less excited by something as simple and innocent as wearing a costume and collecting candy. And then also we've got, immigration. I mean, not to blame immigration for everything, but really it is at least partially to blame for almost everything going wrong in society. And this is one of them. You're bringing in a lot of people who don't care about American traditions. And so it's not just Halloween. It's like all American traditions are declining. It seems like there are fewer and fewer people who are celebrating every American tradition, whether it's Halloween or Thanksgiving or Christmas. It just seems to be less of a big deal with each passing year. And that's because we're bringing in a whole bunch of people who don't celebrate these traditions. Now, obviously, something like Christmas is not an American tradition. It's a tradition that goes back 2,000 years worldwide. But even something like that, it's the kind of the aspects of the tradition that are distinctly American, let's say, when it comes to Christmas, are declining. And meanwhile, things that are American traditions, Halloween, trick-or-treating, Thanksgiving, you find declining. So I think all that plays into it. And then finally, and this is kind of maybe a pet peeve of mine, and this may be the number one thing that's killing trick-or-treating, is trunk or treat. Trunk or treat is a scourge, and so what ends up happening if you don't have kids, you're not familiar with what trunk or treat is. Trunk or treat is like it's for the month before Halloween. You have got in any community, you'll have dozens of trunk or treat different events that happen. It's churches do them and schools and whatever. And all that is, and this could be like 2 weeks before Halloween. You have people go to a parking lot and they stand near their cars and they have bags of candy, and you bring your kid around to all the cars in the parking lot and they give out candy. It has none of the charm of trick-or-treating on the night, at night, going to houses, all the decorations. It's none of that. It's just very efficient. Everyone's in a freaking parking lot and you just go around and collect candy and you're done in 30 minutes. So what ends up happening is that kids do the trunk or treat thing. They get loaded up with candy 2 weeks before Halloween, and then it takes away the novelty of it. Now it's like they've already got a bunch of candy. They're candied out by the time trick or treating rolls around. So that's also a big problem. That's a major problem. I'd love to hear the candidates. I'd like to hear what they have to say about trunk or treating. I think it should be banned. Liz Cheney lashed out at Charlie Kirk yesterday. She tweeted, this is what she tweeted in response to a clip of Charlie on Megyn Kelly's show. She said, "Listen to this twit make Donald Trump's closing argument. Women, you know what to do. Hashtag vote Kamala." So she calls him a twit. Many other people on the left are outraged by this clip as well. Charlie was trending on Twitter because of it. Apparently he said something really outrageous, truly terrible. In the clip, he's discussing the disgusting Julia Roberts ad that we've talked about on the show where she's telling women to lie to their husbands about who they're voting for. And here's what Charlie said about that. Let's listen.
And she needs people to basically lie to their husbands, which they are promoting, by the way, which I find that entire advertising campaign so repulsive. It is so disastrous. It is just like
I'll show it in a minute.
It is the embodiment of the downfall of the American family. I think it's so gross. I think it's so just nauseating where this wife is wearing you'll show it, wearing the American hat. She's coming in with her sweet husband who probably works his tail off to make sure that she can go, and have a nice life and provide for the family. And then she lies to him saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump." And then she votes for Kamala Harris as her little secret in the voting booth. Kamala Harris and her team believe that there will be millions of women that undermine their husbands and do so in a way that it's not detectable in the polling.
So there it is. That's the controversial statement, the controversial, obviously right, common sense statement. Not even clear what part of that is supposed to be upsetting. Charlie's point is that spouses shouldn't lie to each other and we shouldn't encourage spouses to lie to each other, which is maybe the most basic, self-evidently true point a person can make about a marriage. It's a point that every marriage counselor, if they're worth their salt, will tell you. Don't lie to your spouse. And really, you should never lie to your spouse. I mean, never, ever. Never lie to him or her, even about small things. And voting, who you're voting for is not a small thing, but even about small things, even if you take some lighthearted example, like, classic, your wife asks you if she looks fat in this dress, right? And usually people would say that that's an example of a time when it's okay to lie, but really, in all seriousness, you shouldn't lie even then. You especially don't want to lie about that, actually, because if you say that she doesn't look fat in the dress, and then you go out and she catches a glimpse of herself in a reflection at a bad angle, then she's going to get mad at you for not being honest with her about it. And so you just should not lie to your spouse under any circumstance. And again, especially not about who you're voting for. But I guess I assume the part of Charlie's statement that most upsets the bitter feminist banshees like Liz Cheney is when he used the word undermine. The ad was encouraging women to undermine their husbands, but he's right on that point too. And you do undermine your husband when you lie to him and deceive him. When you treat him with disrespect and contempt, of course, you're undermining your husband. And that is a bad thing. And this should not be controversial. And I don't think it is among normal people. Let's stay with Liz Cheney for another few moments, unfortunately, because we have our newest Trump hoax. It had been 36 hours since the last one, so it was about time. And today the media is hysterically claiming that Trump threatened to kill Liz Cheney. Trump threatened Liz Cheney, threatened to have her executed. That's the claim. Drudge right now has the big, bold red letters at the top of the page blaring this: Trump calls for Cheney's execution. World in shock. Ex-president increases violent threats. So that's how the media is, that's how they're talking about this. Liz Cheney responded, tweeting, "This is how dictators destroy free nations. They threaten those who speak against them with death. We cannot entrust our country and our freedom to a petty, vindictive, cruel, unstable man who wants to be a tyrant. Hashtag women will not be silenced. Hashtag vote Kamala." Very brave, very bold, right? She's standing up against the tyrant. But what did Trump actually say? Well, of course, the clip is being taken out of context. But let's first play the out of context clip that is being circulated right now, in which Donald Trump allegedly calls for Liz Cheney's execution. Because even in the out of context clip, you could still tell that Drudge and the media and Liz Cheney are lying about it, even though there is more context needed. But here's the out of context clip.
And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face.
So there it is. Now, as I said, I think it's already obvious, even from a carefully clipped out of context snippet. It's obvious what Trump is really saying. But let's pull back the lens. Let's widen the lens a little bit. And here's the same clip with just a few more seconds of context.
He said, "I really want to thank you." He said, "Now I'm so glad that I actually endorsed you. It's amazing, but that you would do this." And I didn't speak to him about it. But then, go a couple of years forward or go now. And I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, "Oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy." But she's a stupid person. And I used to I'd have meetings with a lot of people, and she always wanted to go to war.
Okay, so what is he saying? Is he saying that he wants to kill Liz Cheney? Could any honest person interpret it that way? That he wants to kill her? That he's going to have her executed? Is he calling for her assassination the way that many leftists have of Trump, even after he was actually almost assassinated? No, what he's saying is that Liz Cheney is a chicken hawk coward who happily sends young men off to go die on foreign soil somewhere while she sits in her, comfortably in her air-conditioned office in D.C. That's what he's saying, and he's absolutely right. I mean, he's not only right, but it's a point that millions of Americans have made. It's the kind of thing you could hear any American citizen make if you're sitting in their living room talking about politics. It's one of the main complaints that Americans have about neocons like Liz Cheney and the elitists who are constantly starting wars and sending our troops off to go die. It's like this is a very common point that Trump is making, an important point that should be made. But this is the left yet again taking this thing that millions of people have said, and we all understand exactly what he means, and trying to convince us that we're not hearing what we're actually hearing. All right, the Avengers have assembled with an important message. Get ready for this is maximum cringe. I mean, it's coming on. This is hard and fast. The cringe here. It's like a tidal wave. So brace yourself. Here it is.
Hi, you guys. Hi, Avengers.
Hi. Hey,
Thanks for
Scarlett.
jumping on the call.
Whoa. I think you mean assembling. I said assembling. Don, that's pretty good. No, they thought it was funny.
Scarlett, it is our pleasure to come together and to get the vote out this election. Come on.
Yeah, how can we be of service? Well, how about we start with what our voting plans are going to be, who we're going to bring to the polls with us, that sort of thing.
I think Kamala Harris needs a catchphrase.
Ooh, yes, definitely a catchphrase.
How about this? I'm just off the top of my head. I can do this all day.
Shut up.
I hate it.
Okay.
I mean, it's original, but...
What about something punchier like...
Ooh, boom. You looking for this?
Iron Man 2, everybody loved it.
Okay, again, I think we're just trying to get out the vote.
Kamala forever.
That's better.
Okay, how about I'm down with democracy? It's just clean, it's simple.
Okay, I like that.
It's hard to argue with that.
Kamala Harris down with democracy.
Oh, yeah. I'm Kamala Harris, and I say...
First of all, I have no idea who some of those people even are. Who is the British guy? Paul. What was his name? Paul? Who is that guy? I don't know. Is he an Avenger? What superhero is he? And the black woman, who is she? Are they part of the Avengers? Who are? I mean, are those fans who won a contest and were able to be a part of it? I don't know. I've never watched an Avenger movie because I'm, an adult, so maybe that's why I don't know. But I am familiar with the other people, and all together they add up to create just, as I said, maximum cringe, unbearable cringe to the nth degree. And I don't think this is going to move the needle very much at all. Smarmy, multimillionaire celebrity actors sitting in their Hollywood mansions, I don't think that's going to help in an election that mostly centers around the fact that American families can't afford groceries, and also advertising the fact that Hollywood is entirely in the corner of Kamala Harris. I don't think that helps her. I really don't. Because it is, it's the entire Avengers, everybody involved in the Avengers, all of them are Kamala Harris supporters. There's no dissenter in the bunch, apparently. Not a surprise, but I don't think that's the kind of thing that's the kind of message. I don't think it helps Kamala to send that message. When people think, oh, well, like every Hollywood actor likes Kamala Harris, I think when most people hear that, they think, yeah, okay, well, that tells me something, and it's not good. Here's an endorsement that does matter. This happened a couple days ago. I keep meaning to mention it, and I will now if you didn't hear. Politico reports famed Apollo 11 astronaut Buzz Aldrin on Wednesday endorsed Donald Trump for president, citing Trump's prioritization of space exploration while he was in office. Aldrin wrote in a statement, "Over time, I've seen our government's approach to space wax and wane, but under the first Trump administration, I was impressed to see how human space exploration was elevated as a policy of high importance once again." Aldrin pointed to a number of Trump-era policies, including creation of the Space Force in the statement. He also shouted out billionaire entrepreneur and major Trump backer Elon Musk as a visionary for what he called the private sector space economy. So Buzz Aldrin endorsing Donald Trump. And this endorsement really does matter. I mean, this endorsement this endorsement means more than every Hollywood actor put together. And because Buzz Aldrin is one of our greatest living Americans. You know, he's simply one of the greatest Americans still alive, one of the greatest Americans of all time. And I hope, you know, look, I'm not looking to rub this in, and we want unity on the right among conservatives going into Election Day. So I won't dwell on this. I'm not going to dwell on it. But I do hope that you moon landing deniers on the right, you know, you should feel a little bad now. Okay? It's like this Buzz Aldrin is on your side, one of our greatest living Americans, and you're trying to deny him his great achievement. You're denying that he achieved, accusing him of being a liar and a fraud. Great American, an icon, Trump supporter, and you're accusing him of being nothing but a liar and a fraud. And you should feel a little bad about that. You should. But then, you know, just let's cut all the nonsense about denying the moon landing. The moon landing happened. It's a great thing. Something we should be proud of as Americans. Something that because we love our country and we're patriots, and this is the greatest thing that America has ever achieved. It's the greatest human achievement of all time. Is claimed by America, and we love that, and we're proud of that. And so that's it. Let's just move on. Finally, this election has made something very clear, although this was already clear, that we're living in, speaking of space exploration, we're living in different universes. The right and left are divided by a chasm that might as well be 100 million light years across, right? And so here's just one more piece of evidence, is this viral video of people on the left, I guess, explaining why they are going to vote for Kamala Harris. Watch.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. I just don't know if I'll be able to own a credit card without my husband's permission in 7 days.
Oh, did I get too political? My bad. I just don't know if I want to get rid of overtime in 7 days.
Oh, I've gotten too political? My bad. I just want to make sure I have access to birth control in 7 days.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. I guess I don't know if I'm going to be a U.S. citizen in 7 days.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. I'm just worried I won't be able to love who I love in 7 days.
Oh, did I get political? My bad. I just don't want my mother to be denied her health care because she has a pre-existing condition.
Oh, I'm being too political? My bad. I'm just fighting for the future of my daughter.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. It's just that I don't know if my family in Western North Carolina will be warned of the hurricane coming in 7 days when the National Weather Service is gone.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. I don't want them to start rounding up immigrants to deport in 7 days.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. The only reason I have a daughter is because of IVF.
Oh, I got too political? I just don't really want JD Vance tracking my periods in 7 days.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. I don't want Trump to take over the Board of Education, put in his lackeys, his loyalists, and have y'all continue to think that Puerto Rico is not a part of America. Open the schools.
Okay, so like I said, different universes. And in this universe, these leftists, the one that they're living in, Donald Trump is going to, let's just review the list. Trump is going to ban women from owning credit cards without their husband's permission, ban overtime pay, ban birth control, deport, from what I can tell, legal U.S. citizens. He's going to prevent people from loving who they love. He's going to stop warning people about hurricanes, and he's going to put J.D. Vance in charge of tracking women's periods. That's what those are the reasons that they give for voting for Kamala. Not one reason. I mean, there's not one thing that made the list that's actually real. None of that has any basis in reality. I mean, it's amazing that you could put together a 90-second video of a bunch of different, a montage of leftists talking about why they're going to vote for Kamala. And not one of them mentions a single thing that's actually that's real. It's incredible. And when you watch something like that, you'd like to think to yourself, oh, well, this is hyperbole. They don't really think that J.D. Vance will be tracking their period. There's no way they think that. They don't actually think that Donald Trump's going to stop warning us about hurricanes or prevent women from buying credit cards. They can't really think that. It must be intentional hyperbole, but it's not. This is what they think. And if Kamala wins, I mean, if she actually wins, if she, in fact, if in fact she wins through the ballot box, it will mean that, you know, a majority of Americans, it's not just that they have, you know, opinions I disagree with and they have policy, you know, ideas that I disagree with. It's that they are totally delusional. Like they are fundamentally disconnected from reality. Because this has been Kamala's entire campaign, is this kind of stuff. Just a litany of claims about Donald Trump and the things that he's going to do that are totally divorced from reality. And this is her bet, is that there's enough people who are delusional and that she can ride that wave of a delusion to the White House. We'll see. Let's talk about something that really affects us all, taxes. The October 15th deadline is passed, and if you're not prepared, you could be in for a world of hurt. Do you owe back taxes? Are your returns still unfiled? Did you miss the deadline to file for an extension? Now that we're past October 15th, the IRS is probably gearing up for some aggressive enforcement. Trust me, you don't want to be on their radar. We're talking wage garnishments, frozen bank accounts, even property seizures. It's not pretty, folks. But before you start panicking, there's still hope. Tax Network USA has helped taxpayers save over $1 billion in tax debt and filed over 10,000 tax returns. These guys specialize in reducing tax burdens for hardworking Americans just like you. Look, I get it. Dealing with the IRS is about as fun as a root canal, but ignoring the problem won't make it go away. So here's what you got to do. Don't wait any longer. For a complimentary consultation, call today at 1-800-958-1000 or visit their website at tnusa.com/Walsh. Their experts will walk you through a few simple questions to see how much you can save. That's 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Walsh today. Don't let the IRS take advantage of you. Get the help you need with Tax Network USA. By now, you've probably heard my box office hit and the top documentary of the decade, Am I Racist?, is now streaming exclusively on Daily Wire Plus. I know you want to watch it. Daily Wire Plus is the only place you can do that. And right now, we've made it really easy. Get 47% off your new annual membership with code FIGHT. That gets you access to Am I Racist?, the movie that shocked the box office, stunned the left, and tore apart DEI. Want to know how I pulled it off? Well, I break it all down with exclusive bonus content, taking you behind the scenes on how we pulled off what's been called the greatest troll against the left in history. Plus, there's a deleted Johnny the Walrus scene you didn't see in theaters, and the only way to see that, well, you got to go to Daily Wire Plus. So get 47% off right now at dailywire.com/subscribe with code FIGHT. Now let's get to our daily cancellation. Hey, YouTube thinks what I'm about to say is too controversial to be on their platform. Want to hear it anyway? Check out the description to learn how. The executive producer of the Matt Walsh Show is Sean Hampton. Our associate producer is McKenna Michaelis. The show is directed by Mark Jones and Trey Miller. Our production manager is Austin Michaelis. The show is edited by Jeff Tomlin. Our lead audio engineer is Mike Coromina. Our audio engineer is Ryan Reese. Our hair and makeup artists are Cherokee Hart and Andrea Bauer. Our wardrobe stylists are Kristen Galarraga and Cameron Lasko. Our director of post-production is Matthew Kemp. Director of production operations is Pavel Vodosky. Our chief broadcast engineer is Jeff Govin. And our assistant broadcast engineer is Allegra Rohr. Our lighting director is Keith Duggan. Our playback operators are CJ Hickish and Finn Pope. Our show assistant is Holly Merritt. And our production assistant is Mike Moran. Executive in charge of production is David Wormus. Executive producer is Jeremy Boring. The Matt Walsh Show is a Daily Wire production. Copyright Daily Wire 2024.
Hi, this is Andrew Klavan. If you like American flags and automatic weapons and shaking your fist at homosexuals while fighter jets fly over in formation, come to the Andrew Klavan Show. We don't have any of that, but we will be making fun of idiots and praising God and laughing our way through the fall of the Republic. It's like an insane asylum for happy people. That's the Andrew Klavan Show right here on Daily Wire Plus.